of A-Stot's investment research, talking about world-class benchmarking. And today I'm going to talk about part 4 of how to become financially world-class. Remember that world-class benchmarking is simple, focused, and team building. It helps you balance the competing pressures of profitability and growth. Its focus on profitable growth increases the value of your business. It is challenging. To be world-class, you must beat global peers. Finally, the world-class benchmarking triangle is easy to understand and apply. So let's look at part 4. It is challenging. To be world-class, you must beat global peers. Remember, the finance world is complicated, scattered, and individual. World-class benchmarking tries to make complicated simple, scattered focused, and individual team. So how do we use the profitable growth measure that we've learned about in the prior section? In part 3, we learned that profitable growth is the measure that matters most. But how can we use that measure to improve the financial performance of our business? One way is to compare a company's profitable growth this year versus the prior year. Say a management team is happy with improved profitable growth this year versus the prior year. Good news, things have improved. Bad news, the improved performance could still be terrible relative to its competitors or its capability. What should we compare a company against? Our past? Well, no. Our nearest competitor? Other competitors in the country? Other companies in the region? Well, let's talk about our nearest competitor, since we just saw in the prior slide that just comparing against the past doesn't tell us a lot. So if we look at our nearest competitor, Apple's iPhone versus Samsung Galaxy, are they the same? Well, they're competing products, but in fact, they are actually very different companies. Apple's MacBook versus Dell's XPS, which I use. Well, in this case, we're talking about a product within a division of a company. Very hard to get information. Google's search engine versus Bing. Coke versus Pepsi. So the benefits of comparing to the nearest competitor is it's easy to calculate. You don't need a financial expert for that. It gives management team one target to focus on, that company you're competing against. Consumers may be making a choice between these two companies, so it's important that you get your company to beat that competitor. It is the most comparable company, and everybody likes the feeling that they're comparing against a comparable company. The weakness of comparing to the nearest competitor is that if that competitor is performing poorly, then beating that competitor may not be a strong measure of success. Also, your future competition could come from many other companies. Focusing only on beating one, your nearest competitor, may get management team overly focused on the wrong thing, and then they miss new opportunities and new competitors that are approaching from different angles. Also, the weakness of comparing to the nearest competitor is that if you're comparing Apple MacBook to Dell XPS, you're actually comparing brands. And this comparison of brands is something, it sometimes is a very close comparison. But unfortunately, comparing brands is not the same as comparing companies. With brands, we rarely have full and consistent financial disclosure. So yes, we can compare on features, and sometimes we can get some data, but it's not enough to do a consistent comparison. Therefore, we cannot consistently make that comparison. Now, for example, comparing against a direct competitor such as Coke versus Pepsi may not be as simple as it seems. Why? Well, Pepsi's snack foods division accounts for more than 50% of its revenue, while Coca-Cola's revenue comes almost all from beverages. So half of Pepsi's business is not comparable. Now, you could try to separate Pepsi's beverage division and compare that to Coca-Cola. However, most companies try to reveal the minimum of financial details about divisions. So getting this data may be hard, and it will not always be available. So in conclusion, the direct comparison method sounds good and sometimes works, but in practice there are many flaws. After years of experience as an analyst trying to make direct comparisons, my answer is There are no perfectly comparable companies, and sometimes similar companies are not similar enough. So, what should we compare against? Our past? No. Our nearest competitor? No. Our competitors in our country? Well, if financial information is available, then it's relatively easy to calculate. It gives management team a focus of being number one in your country. And it makes sense to your employees as you are mainly competing against these companies. By comparing against a group of competitors, it removes many of the weaknesses of not having one direct competitor to compare against. Now, the weaknesses of comparing to competitors in your country is financial information is often not available, or in the case of some countries, only once a year that you can get that data. Also, the companies may not be very competitive. Beating them would not make your company great. It would just make your company better than them. Employees do not see themselves as world-class, but rather best in country. And let me tell you, when a management team and when a group of employees feel that they have achieved world-class status, it is something that's unbeatable. In fact, I would argue that the intrinsic value that people get from becoming world-class is the most important part of what we're trying to bring out in work. So, what should we compare against? Our past? No. Our nearest competitor? No. Other competitors in our country? No. What about other competitors or other companies in our region? So the strengths of comparing to competitors in your region are it overcomes the problem that companies in your country are not financially impressive. It gives management team a focus of being number one in your region. And these days, regional groupings, regional trade is more free. So companies are under increasing threat from regional competitors. Now, the weaknesses of comparing to competitors in your region is companies in your region may still not be financially impressive. Competition can come from outside your region. Being best in the region may not make you world class. Also, borders may be more open, but regional competition may never have an impact on your company. Say you are a property company, as an example. If your country's economy is weak, your rank will fall relative to other unrelated economies that are strong. So, what should we compare against? Our past? No. Our nearest competitor? No. Our competitors in our country? No. Other companies in our region? No. All right. So, to be truly financially world-class, compare against global peers. The next section shows how world-class benchmarking makes this comparison. We consider a company relative to all stock market listed companies worldwide. So let's say our data set has about 27,000 companies across the globe. We have a subject company that we're looking at. Though no two companies are alike, some are more alike than others. Now, we use something called GICS, which is a way of classifying all companies in the world into 11 sectors. We rank a company against its peers within that sector that it belongs to. Now, we compare the subject company against companies within their GICS sector. And there we have the 11 GICS sectors. And there's various numbers of companies within each of those. But let's now say that the company we're looking at, the subject company, is Consumer Staples Company. Staples meaning something that we consume regularly, like food or coffee. So some examples of companies in different sectors are consumer discretionary. These are discretionary items that we could postpone, like Ford or Toyota. Consumer staples, Walmart, and in Thailand we have CPO. Energy, ExxonMobil, Sinopec. Healthcare, Johnson & Johnson, Bangkok Dusit Medical Services. Financials, ICBC, the biggest bank, JP Morgan Chase, HSBC. Industrials, GE, Samsung Electronics. Information technology, Google, Alibaba, Tencent. Materials, Monsanto, Daikin Industries, PTT Global Chemicals. Real estate, Simon Property Group, Central Patana. Communications services, AT&T, China Mobile. And utilities like Duke Energy or Petro China. So we then group the subject company with similar sized companies. So we can break all the companies in the world down into large, medium, and small. And let's put the subject company into the small category in this case. So we want to compare against other companies in the same sector and of the same size. So here now we can see the 11 sectors in the columns and then the size in the large in the rows, the 3 rows. And let's say that our subject company is a small consumer staples company. The next thing we do is we rank the subject company against other companies in that sector and size grouping. And so, as you'll learn more, world-class benchmarking has a 1 to 10 ranking, 1 being best, 10 being worst. And when it's number 1 or number 2, it's green. And when it's number 9 or number 10, it's red. And so let's just say that we rank this subject company as a 5 within that group of companies. So this is how we do it. To be truly world-class, you must beat global peers. The world-class benchmarking rank is a stable measure, a global measure, an understandable measure, and it's based on consistently available data of the publicly listed companies. And it's a proven tool to increase the value of your business. So what have you learned? To assure financial performance is truly world-class, compare a company against global peers. World-class benchmarking ranks a company against sector peers of a similar size. The world-class benchmarking rank is stable, global, understandable. It's also available, and it works to increase the value of your business. So that wraps up section 4. Next up is part 5. Finally, the world-class benchmarking triangle is easy to understand. I'll see you in there.